Good afternoon, everyone. How are you? Um, Today we are going to be going over one of the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership from that is talked about in deep levels from one of my friends and mentors, John Maxwell. Today we're going to be going over the leadership lid, the law of the lid, um, and we're going to be referencing this back into um, a story in the Bible coming from Second Samuel in chapter 5, verses 1 through 4. And we're going to be talking about two kings of Israel, Saul and King David, King Saul and King David. And what the law of the lid states is that in anything that we do, there's a certain level that we have. And if our natural ability and what we do, we can't get above that lid. We need to be able to do things to be able to rate to break through that lid and get through that lid and continue to grow. So today we're going to go over a couple things pertaining to how do we get past our law of the lid, our leadership lid. And we're going to take a look, like I said, we're going to look at two different people here, King Saul and King David. They both had lids in their life. Um, King David was anointed at an early age to be the next king of Israel, and would be coming into to leadership after Saul. Um, but we want to look at Saul first. So King Saul, he had a lot of great challenges, um, and really his biggest lid that he had was himself. He overcame a lot of external obstacles that would allow him to grow, but one of the things that he wasn't able to overcome was his internal lid that he had there. So I just want to read some of these that he had, and I think some of these are going to resonate with all of us as we go through these. Some of the lids that he had fear, he had impatience, he had denial, um, he was impulsive, he had deceit, he was jealous. Um, he was jealous when he learned that David was going to be king after him. People were comparing him to David. He was jealous of that, and he had a terrible thing of a fit of anger, and he was just always angry. So those are some of the lids that he had. Um, David had his own set of lids. Some of David's lids was his family. He was really rejected by his family. David was the youngest of all the boys. He didn't come from a lineage line that would make him a king. At least it shouldn't make him a king. And so his family, he was really, his lid was his family. Um, his leader, Saul was a king when David was a young boy. And his leader, Saul, the king, was one of his lids. Saul kept trying to, he tried to kill David on several times, and he just tried to keep David down. So that was one of his lids. His background, we talked about this a minute ago. He wasn't from a strong lineage. He was from a family of poor shepherds, and those were not people that eventually became king of Israel. But so his background was a leadership lid for him, um, and his youthfulness and inexperience. I think we all know, or most of us know, the story of David and Goliath. David as a young boy um, stood up to face Goliath, um, and a towering Philistine that no one could beat, and all of the warriors from Israel didn't want to face him, including Saul. Saul was a good warrior, a mighty warrior, and he didn't want to face him. So David stepped up, and everyone discounted him until David got out there and got a shot. And the story goes with a slingshot and just one stone, he was able to bring Goliath down to the ground, and then the the sword that Goliath had, he used the same sword to take his head off. Um, but his youthfulness and inexperience, no one ever took him seriously. So how many of those lids are in our life? I know there's a lot. I know I have a lot of those in my life, and I've had a lot of those in my life, and I still have a lot of those in my life. But the reason that Saul was not able to overcome his lids, like he was not able to break through his own self. He didn't have the ability and the insight. He didn't have people working with him to be able to lift his lid to different levels. Whereas David, he didn't let his lids get in his way, and he was always out there trying to better himself, even when he did make mistakes. Later on in his life, he made a lot of mistakes, a lot of infidelity and just bad decisions that he made. But he always seemed to grow and rise to new levels after those happened. Um, and so there's two ways we can take a look at our lids. We can either let that lid kind of cap us of what we can do, or we can just hit that lid hard enough times, and eventually it keeps going up, and we just keep rising up in our leadership. Um, so that's what we're studying, what we studied today. It's from the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, and this is um, the law of the lid. If any of you have any lids in your life that you need to work on breaking through, I would love to be able to work with you and talk with you and help you navigate through some of those. So reach out and let me know, and I'd love to sit down and talk with you. Thank you for joining today, and we'll be back soon.